going on, everybody? This is the USBcast. You're listening to Chris, Ryan, and Drew. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, Chris, you seem very excited today. So,
Always, man.
Drew, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to talk about a bunch of different sports. We got NFL, NCAA football, World Series, NBA, you name it, we got it. This is our very first podcast for the Untitled Sports Broadcast, as Chris very loudly put it earlier. Remember to follow us at TheUSBCast. Chris, why don't you start us off with some Kentucky-Michigan State talk?
Man, as a Michigan State fan, it's actually kind of promising that they only lost by 7 points, and they played really bad. You know, they didn't shoot very well. Cash is going to need some help this year. And I don't know if he's going to get it until Langford comes back. But I think this is pretty much the worst-case scenario for them so far, and I think they'll be a lot better and be fine for the tournament.
Ryan, as a Michigan fan, what do you think about that?
I'm a little worried, like Chris mentioned, about supporting cast around Cassius Winston. Cassius had, I think, 21 last night. Outside of that, I mean, I think Xavier Henry was your leading scorer. He's going to have to give you around 15 a game for them to be competitive. Just
Xavier Henry, that one player?
Oh,
Aaron Henry.
I'm sorry.
That just proves how bad he is, you know?
You know, Rocket Watts, I think this is probably going to be his worst game of the year. You know, he's a freshman coming in. Some expectations in the starting lineup. You know, he went 0 for 4 from the floor, a couple turnovers. He did have a nice pass to Cash to start the game, but after that, not a real great game from him. I'm expecting bigger things from him, and then he'll probably be coming off the bench when Langford eventually comes back. So he should be able to give spell Winston when he gets into foul trouble or needs a little rest.
Yeah, I just think Michigan State is overrated this year. Plain simple.
Yeah.
I have no more critiques about that. About Michigan basketball, though, Ryan, you're a pretty good fan. I think you said you went to the scrimmage exhibition.
I went to the exhibition. I was there last night.
You were there last night, too? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Waste of time.
How they got off to a really good start, though, but then they kind of sucked.
So they to start the second half, they started running into problems. App State switched to a 2-3 zone, and they were forced to live and die by the three, which really isn't their bread and butter. The first half, they looked really good. They were backing it in with Teskey, just his sheer size and strength. He was able to put up a double-double pretty quick into the game. But like I said, once App State started switching to that 2-3 zone, it really gave them problems.
Teskey was pretty dominant to start the game, but, you know, they really struggled when they switched to that zone, like Ryan said over there. I don't know how they're going to be able to score this year every game, like, consistently. I don't know. They don't have as much shooting. Simpson, you know, he still hasn't developed the outside shot. Livers is probably their best scorer, most consistent shooter, and Brooks, surprisingly, with the 24 points. You know, that was pretty impressive, but they aren't very deep, and it might be kind of a long year for them. I expect them to be a bottom half team seeded in the NCAA tournament.
I think they should be happy with the tournament appearance. New coach, new culture. I think that should be a goal for them this year.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll be really good next year, though. I believe in Juwan Howard. You guys believe in Juwan Howard?
Next year they're going to be without Simpson, Teskey. I mean, you're going to be
worried.
worried.
A lot of recruits, though. He's going to be a great recruiter. I don't know, but it's all about in-game coaching for him. Is he going to be an all right in-game manager? Then I don't know how good this team is if he's like that. But if he's anything above average, this team could be a number 1 seed for years to come.
Yeah, they're gonna have the talent, and hopefully we get, because he's such good friends with LeBron and D Wade. Hopefully we get LeBron.
As a State fan,
that's
awesome. Not good news. They're gonna be stealing recruits from us for the next few years, so look out. But you know, Izzo will find a way to get it done like he always does. Hopefully they can make another tournament run this year while Michigan still isn't that great, and they can run this. They should run this conference. I don't know. We'll see.
Not to turn this into a Tom Izzo hate podcast, but people act like that he's like God as a head coach. He's only got 1 national championship.
I agree.
Can we calm down? Can we just calm down a little bit?
But he's got multiple Final Fours. I'm
so
not just
John Beilein.
Yeah, he's a great coach too. I'm not going to deny that. I think Beilein's a great coach. He's going to be great. He's going to rebuild the Cavs eventually. They're going to be good again. But I just think Izzo. The Cavs. Yeah, he's on the Cavs.
Yeah, he's on the Cavs, but. You think the Cavs are going to be good with Beilein?
Yeah, eventually, probably. Yeah,
I think Beilein will probably get fired before the Cavs are good again.
All right, I think
they just want him to develop the guys.
Hey man, maybe I don't know.
Beilein to the Cavs is more of a culture change, just kind of instill in those young guys what winning takes.
That's your opinion. I don't know. I think Beilein's a great coach. I think he's a great in-game manager. That's why I'm not sure about Juwan Howard. I know he'll be a really good recruiter, and they're going to get a lot of 5 and 4 stars, and they're going to have really good lineups and a lot of high draft picks in the lottery, but. I don't know. We'll see. If he's not a good in-game coach, they might take some early exits in the tournament, whereas Izzo's done it too with some high prospects. It just kind of depends on when he develops his teams. This year I expect big things.
I'm more positive about Juwan just because he was an assistant coach for the Heat.
But he doesn't have any
so
head coaching
years.
experience yet. I don't know. Like,
but he learned under Spoelstra. And
Spoelstra's a great
one
coach.
Of the best coaches
He's a great
in the
coach.
NBA.
I agree. But
And,
he's never had any head coaching experience. I mean, I know he went to Michigan. Everyone's gonna like him there, and the players are gonna respect him.
Well, I don't know if everyone's gonna like him.
I mean, I think he's.
I mean,
he's
look
a
at
team.
Harbaugh though. Look at Harbaugh though. Everybody loved Harbaugh the first few years.
I don't know.
Now everybody
Harbaugh.
hates him,
Yeah, I guess
so.
they're both players, coaches. I don't know. Maybe some of the if he doesn't succeed in a tournament, they might start to turn on him. But like, I don't know. I think I'd expect pretty big things from him going forward. If he can coach averagely, I think it can be just fine.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. It's only one day. A lot of teams didn't even get started last night, so we'll go into a sport that's really more developed, and that's NFL.
Sir,
you're wearing your Odell jersey right now. Are you happy with Cleveland's only 2-win start to go to season?
Absolutely not. I'm kind of a Cleveland fan. I would say a little bit of a bandwagon fan. I'm still a believer in Baker. I think he can be a solid NFL.
He looked like a
quarterback.
homeless guy after the game.
I agree, man. I don't know.
Sunday.
I guess that's what 2 years in Cleveland's going to do for you right there. I mean, a 2-6 start for him. He's been under pressure pretty much every game. Really struggled with this offensive line, and I mean, he hasn't been able to find Beckham or Landry, man. He's got to be better, that's for sure. But they need to build that offensive line around him. I expect them within the next couple of years. I think they can definitely be a playoff team, maybe even more. I don't know. This season, it's got a lot of season left. Let's see what happens. The schedule softens up. I know they got the Dolphins coming up pretty soon. That should be a win. Dolphins aren't very good.
They probably should have beat the Broncos though. But Ryan, what's a big disappointing team for you?
Ooh, I'd have to go with the Chargers. I had Chargers as a Super Bowl favorite, one of my Super Bowl favorites. I think Melvin Gordon, him sitting out those first few weeks, hurt the team more than people think. Even though Austin Eckler was going off, I mean, Melvin Gordon's
not a great. He's not a great downhill runner, whereas Gordon is. He's starting to get going now. We'll see.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by how bad the Chargers defense has looked these past couple weeks too. With Ingram and Bosa, I thought they'd be locked down, but
they've had a lot not injuries though.
In the secondary,
Ingram's been hurt.
Yeah.
You also had a lot of secondary injuries, a lot of receivers getting hurt for them. I mean, no Gordon's not going to help. Hunter Henry's had some injury history for them the last couple of years. Keenan Allen as well has been kind of banged up. I think this team could still make a run at a wild card. I mean, they're 4-5 now. They've won 2 straight against a couple solid teams. And, they still got they got Kansas City twice, and I think they got Oakland twice as well coming up. And they're both ahead of them. So, they can win 3 out of 4 of those. They can get right back in this division.
My biggest disappointing team is probably going to be the Lions. I was really high on the Lions. I know everyone's probably going to laugh at me, but
Homer.
Yeah, I thought the Lions were going to be good this year. I thought they made a lot of really good upgrades on defense with Trey Flowers. Mike Daniels is always one of my favorite players in the NFL. And the offenses look great. The defense has been riddled with injuries. They made some questionable trades. And then they lost to the Raiders last week with
disappointing.
Yeah,
that
it was really bad.
Terrible.
The defense is terrible.
Defense was bad, but how about that 4th and goal call?
Yeah, the 4th and goal call was.
You don't have Marvin Jones or Kenny Galladay out there, but instead he put in a second-string tight end to catch that
I think it was
pass.
a third-string tight end.
Third string.
Don't give him
He's
too
a
much
strong.
credit here for sure. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with. I don't know who called. I'm assuming Bevel called the play. Obviously, he's been pretty good this year, but I don't know. That's a head scratcher, man. They got gifted a timeout for that. They could come up with any play they want, and they choose that to take your best 3 offensive players off the field and give Stafford no options besides a third-string tight end converted from quarterback in Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
Why are you throwing him in that situation? Hawkinson wasn't even on the field. That's a shame, man. They deserve that game.
It really sucks too because the Packers, Vikings, and Bears all lost, so we could have made up a ton of ground, not only in the division but also in the wild card race, and we just threw it all away. On a more optimistic note, Ryan, what were your favorite teams? Like best teams so far? Like surprising teams that were supposed to be good that are really good.
I really like the Bills. I know Josh Allen's limited offensively.
I like the Bills too.
Don't got much on offense, but their defense and their coaching staff is very underrated. I really think the Bills are a strong team.
Coach.
Yeah, they benefit from being in one of the worst worst divisions in the NFL, but still they've had some impressive wins, and I really like the defense this year.
Hung around the Patriots. I think Josh Allen can get the job done as a game manager. He turns the ball over a little too much, but he's got some athleticism. He's got John Brown and Cole Beasley to throw to. Not great weapons, but Brown's been pretty solid this year. And then watch out for Devin Singletary in the second half of this year. Man.
Yeah.
He's really starting to get going. He's starting to take that job from the ageless Frank Gore. And, he's a great receiver out of the backfield, and he looks like he could be the best player in this whole class if he keeps it up. Last week with 95 yards on the ground, a touchdown, a couple receptions as well. I'd look for him to have a big second half.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills are going to be a playoff team. I'm just looking at the rest of the AFC West. There was some Raiders talk, maybe make the playoffs, and I don't really think that's going to happen. They beat the Lions, and they acted like they won the Super Bowl, and I was like, can we just calm down? The Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, but I'm not that high on the Chiefs. I think the Bills could actually upset some people in the playoffs, and maybe.
Yeah, watch out for the Bills. They can match up against teams such as the Texans and the Ravens, who have a high-powered offense. I don't know about the Chiefs or Patriots. They run into them. That might be a good GG for them in the playoffs. I don't know, but I'll give you my surprising team, or not really surprised, but they've been really good. I've been really impressed with the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson is playing. He's having one of the best seasons ever from any quarterback I've seen in a while, man. He looks unstoppable right now, Another big game last week. He's got a huge divisional matchup against the Niners that has playoff implications, and if they can win this division, I don't think anybody can stop this offense, honestly. I don't see it. Wilson's been awesome. Chris Carson, besides a couple fumbles, he's been a dominant running back. And then I like Tyler Lockett a lot. I think he's a solid number one receiver, probably top 10 to 15 receiver in the NFL. And they just added Josh Gordon to that good offense. And their defense past defense hasn't been so great, but their run defense, it hasn't been too bad. I think they can hang in there and maybe even challenge the Patriots if they get to the Super Bowl and play them.
Yeah, I think the NFC playoff picture is going to be really fun to watch. AFC, what I said earlier, it's already kind of set almost. But NFC, just looking at the wild card, you got the Panthers, the Vikings, the Rams, the Seahawks, and even the Eagles are still kind of hanging around there.
Watch out for the Cowboys and the Eagles. That's going to be a fun,
all the divisional
fun
races
test for the rest of the season.
Yeah, all the divisional races are still kind of up for grabs too. NFC North is just a dogfight. So, my surprising team though is probably it got to be the 49ers though. They're the remaining undefeated team. They've got a kind of a pretty soft schedule so far, so I don't think they're as good as the 8-0 suggests. But their defense is lights out. If Jimmy G can turn it around a little bit and be a little bit better, I think they could be a really tough team to beat. But as we will find out a little bit later on, I don't think that the Niners are going to stay undefeated much longer.
No, I think they're actually it's going to be over this week. I think the Seahawks are going to come into the Niners' home turf and take it to them a little bit. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a big game, but Jimmy G's looked a lot better since he got Manny Sanders. He's a solid number one, not great, but he's going to provide a nice target for Jimmy G and then George Kittle, and then they're also getting Kyle Juszczyk's coming back too, and then I know they have Joe Staley. He's going to be back coming up soon as well, maybe even this week. So that could provide them a boost to their already dominant run game for sure.
So if you guys don't have any other NFL talk, let's end it off with some bold Super Bowl predictions. Ryan, why don't you start us off?
Ooh, here's a potential hot take. I don't think the Patriots are going to make it past the AFC Championship round.
Whoa.
I like it,
Who do you think's gonna save the AFC?
It's too hard to say for me right now, but there was a glaring weakness against their contest against the Ravens. The Ravens were able to run just right into the teeth of that defensive line for the Patriots. We saw it a week before with the Browns. Chubb was able to get over 100 yards. He had a couple fumbles. Yeah, but I think that's a big issue going forward, and I don't think they're really that tested. And this is also controversial, but I think Tom Brady has shown that he's kind of regressed lately. He's not the Tom Brady that we thought he was.
I think this is his last season, personally. I don't know. He may retire after this year. He doesn't look like the same quarterback. He's one of the, I think it's the second lowest, maybe third lowest QB rating when under pressure, and they're starting to get to him a little bit more. The Ravens,
their left guard position is terrible.
Yeah. They really need to get Isaiah Wynn back at left tackle because Michelle's been bottled up in the backfield. They need that running game for Brady to be successful.
Collinsworth and Michaels are just tearing up their left guard situation right now on Sunday Night Football.
For good reason, man. They don't even look like the best team in this conference anymore, in my opinion.
So Ryan, do you think it's going to be the Ravens or the Chiefs or maybe the Texans will shock some people? What do you think?
I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes this year. I think he gets it done. He's just too good of a player. Andy Reid in that offense is just too high-powered. I don't think the defense is an issue. It's clearly an issue. But I think all you got to do is just score more points. I like the Chiefs offensively. I got them.
You're not worried about the injury?
No. I think he'll be fine. It's an ankle injury. He should be fine.
Do you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, or do you think that an NFC team will win it?
That's a good question. I think, you know what? I'm going to go outright. I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to win it this year.
Who's your NFC representative?
Oh God, I might go out west with the 49ers. I just like them, both sides of the ball.
Sounds good. Good pick. Chris, what about you? All right, here's what I'm going to say to the Niners take you got. I don't know. I think they're going out in the divisional round. I actually don't think they're winning the division, so I think they might go out. They might have an early exit in the wild card, even with this hot start. I don't know. I think it's very possible. I know Quan Alexander's out for the season. That's going to be a big loss. I think this defense, they kind of got exposed a little bit by the Cardinals last week, and I mean, I think the Seahawks are going to take it to them. That's my pick in the NFC, the Seahawks. If they can get this defense going a little bit, they got Josh Gordon now. They got DK Metcalf. He's been a beast lately. Lockett. Chris Carson, a decent offensive line. I think this team can. I honestly, that's my Super Bowl pick now for sure. Them
Seahawks?
against, yeah, I'm going Seahawks against the Ravens. I think the Ravens with Lamar. I think they can take it. I think they're a matchup nightmare. They can do a little bit of everything. Their defense played a lot better against the Patriots than they've been recently for this team. I don't see the Texans being a threat. Their defense is terrible. Chiefs can't run the football. Their defense has been all right. I don't know. I think maybe Mahomes might get some tough looks if they play the Patriots again. They might lose yet again. We'll find out. They play each other later in the regular season. What about you?
I think we're going to finally see the Super Bowl that I've been waiting for ever since I was a little kid, and that's Saints-Patriots with Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, my two favorite players in the NFL. And all you guys said very good points about the Patriots not making it to the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to do it. I mean, the Patriots, I got to pick them until they prove that they can't win anymore. And then the Saints, they're 7-1 right now, I believe. Yeah, they're 7-1, and they did that without their starting quarterback in Drew Brees for most of the year. Teddy Bridgewater is going to get paid in the offseason, but Drew Brees is still pretty good. And I think Kamara is going to come back from injury. Michael Thomas. I think it's going to be Patriots Saints. That is it for NFL talk, though. Now we're still talking about football, though, but NCAA football, and specifically the really big game this weekend between Alabama and LSU. Ryan, how would you start us off with some talk?
I'm a little worried about Tua's health. I know they said he's a game time decision. I think Tua will play. I think that's more just to keep LSU on their toes. Who's going to start, prepare for both quarterbacks. But I'm a little worried about Tua's health. This defense, Alabama's defense is not the same as it's been in the past. And we think of Alabama in the past, it's run the ball and just stifling defense. But this is more of an air it out. And even this year, Tua's been getting the ball out of his hands really quickly.
He's got some weapons to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Beauty.
Those receivers are probably best receiver trio in the country by far.
No.
I'm a little worried about LSU's defense, though. On the contrary, they've been giving up some big plays, some points to some teams that are not that great offensively. So, I don't know. If I'd had to pick a winner, I'd go Alabama, just because I think Alabama's a better team. But I would not be surprised if either team won.
I'm gonna go with LSU in this one. We're gonna find out if Joe Burrow is the real deal for the Heisman. I think he's the front runner right now. Him and Tua's right behind him. If he can regain healthiness going into this game and really show out against this tough LSU defense led by Grant Delpit, he's a beast. They could still win for sure. It's in Bama. It's in Tuscaloosa. It's a tough place to play. If it was in Death Valley, I'd feel really confident about LSU's chances because they can really air it out and match this Bama offense. I think this is going to be a super high-scoring game, probably in the 30s for both teams. And it's just going to come down to which quarterback makes less mistakes, I think. I think Tua's going to get some – they're going to pressure Tua. They're going to try to get after him off the injury if he's still healthy. And I think same with Burrow. I think they're going to try to get after him as well. He's got some weapons on the outside. We all know Tua's got the best weapons in all of college football. So I don't know. I think I'm going to go with LSU. It's going to be a dogfight for sure. I'm excited to watch this one. 3:30 on CBS. It should be a good game for sure. I hope it's a good one. This could be the game of the year for sure. These two teams are impressive.
We're forgetting that Minnesota plays Penn State and both teams are undefeated on Saturday. Unpopular opinion, I think that's going to be a better game. I know it might sound crazy.
You said you even think Minnesota's going
to I'm gonna take Minnesota straight up here. They're at home. I'm not very Penn State. I have a huge problem with their ranking last night, which was revealed, first playoff rankings. I have a huge problem. I think they're massively overrated. I'm not bought into Sean Clifford like most other people are. I mean, the defensive line with Gross Matus and Micah Parsons at linebacker, that's stout. But I have questions about their secondary and Sean Clifford in the big game. So I'm going to go Gophers here.
I like Penn State because they got Hamler. He's one of the best receivers in the country. He's going to be a high pick in this year's draft. I expect him to be a high draft prospect. He's an impressive receiver. And I mean, Clifford, he's proved to be a decent quarterback. I don't know. we'll see how he stacks up against some good competition. But he's also, I mean, they're gonna have to play Ohio State coming up here, and that should be another big test if they can win this one. I didn't really mind their rankings. I don't think Clemson deserves to be in that top 4, but I don't really think Penn State does either. I don't know. I'm kind of glad that Clemson isn't in there because they haven't been very impressive. I don't know what you think about that.
I don't think Clemson deserves a top 4 spot, but the problem is, I mean, who are you going to put there? You got to choose between Penn State, Clemson. I mean, I don't think
Georgia,
you could put Georgia in there,
I don't
but
like them. Oklahoma's got a loss too. I wouldn't put them in over the undefeated teams there in Clemson and Penn State.
Well, that being said, they did get Ohio State at 1, right? That was the right decision. Ohio State, by far, in my opinion, is the best team. Just watch them play. Both sides of the ball, they're just dominant.
Dobbins has really proved that he's probably going to be another first-round pick. I didn't really like him for his first couple years there, but he has drastically improved his game, and he is an every down back. He's going to prove it in the NFL. I think he's going to get a shot to be a starter and some team in the NFL, but he's got a couple more games against some high competition where he needs to step up for them even more, and they can beat anybody in the country. They got a good defense, and I mean they got a good quarterback. He's excellent, and then Dobbins as well.
Where's Chase Young on your Heisman watch? Is he up there?
He's probably in my. I'd put him in my top 5. I think he might deserve a chance to go to New York, but I do not see him winning the award. He's a fantastic player. He may get drafted number 1 overall or 2, depending on who exactly gets the pick. He's gonna be a force in the NFL. This might be a generational DN here.
It's a shame that the Heisman doesn't go to the best player anymore, because if we're talking about the best player in college football, it's Chase Young. Heisman's statistically almost all the time goes to an offensive player. So, like you said, I don't see Chase Young winning, but I do see him getting an invite to New York just to make an appearance. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Burrow shows out against Bama, this is a big test for him. He's been under the spotlight a couple times this year and really showed out. This is a huge test for him. If he wins this game and has a few touchdown passes, I think he should run away with this award, especially if he outduels Tua on this.
How about Joe Brady coming over from the Saints, passing coordinator to LSU now? I mean, what a job he's done this year.
Yeah,
they've
Burrow transformed this offense to Burrow's strengths, and they've really opened up the playbook. And they're trying to get their speedy receivers and tall receivers. I mean, they got them all over there. They got a lot of high recruits. They've been
Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Those guys have been fantastic.
Been a nice piece for this offense. I mean, their running game isn't as – I don't think it's as dominant as it has been in years past, but they can still get it done with the best of them for sure. They might be my pick to win the whole thing. I don't know. We'll see. If they win this one, I think they definitely have a good chance. You got anything else?
Well, here's the question: if Alabama loses this weekend, are they done with playoffs in terms of the playoffs?
I don't necessarily say that's true. I think it would take a loss from I don't know. It might take a loss from a couple of those teams up there. I'm not sure who exactly yet. Kind of need to see a couple more weeks. Penn State, a loss by them, or Ohio State could open it up a little bit. I think if they can dominate Auburn, the Iron Bowl, and lose, say they lose a really close game to LSU this week, and then dominate Auburn, I think they still deserve 3 or 4 seed in the college football playoffs, especially with Tua. I think people want them in there because they're a big brand. I don't necessarily agree with that.
The committee loves Alabama.
Absolutely. Committee loves the SEC. Correction.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, and Big Ten doesn't get enough love. I think Ohio State deserved it last year. They're going to come back with a chip on their shoulder, and I think Justin Fields might lead them to the promised land this year. We'll see.
Unfortunately, when Michigan upsets Ohio State in the final week of the year, they're gonna.
It's not happening.
It's gonna erase their playoffs.
It's not happening. I'm gonna be at that game actually, and I mean, as a State fan, I still want Michigan to win this game, but I just don't see it happening. I know it's in Ann Arbor. It's probably gonna be a solid game. It usually is. Not always. Last year was an exception.
It's rarely.
Yeah. Justin Fields is just dominant. I don't know. Shea would need to step up and play his best game of the year for them to get it done. We'll see though. Let's move on to the World Series, and let's talk about the offseason a little bit. To recap, Nationals won obviously, as you've seen. They beat the Astros in 7. That was a really good series. What did you think about that, Drew?
So I thought it was a good series, obviously, because it went to 7 games. But in terms of previous 7-game series, it didn't just have as much drama as I liked. I mean, Game 7 was pretty all right. But if you just look at the scores,
Yeah.
I mean, all the scores were it was just blowouts, just blowout after
Settled
blowout.
by 3 runs or more every single game.
Yeah, and the road team winning, that
Except
was
for the
pretty
first
cool. We never saw that before. But yeah, the first game was only a 1-run game.
Didn't no home team won one game.
It's
That's
the first
crazy.
time in any of the 4 major professional sports that the
That's
road
ridiculous.
team has won every game in the series.
When the road team celebrates in some other when they win the World Series on the road, it's not as exciting because the home crowd can't get behind them as much. But it's good for the Nationals. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Did you guys get a chance to see that parade in D.C.?
Yeah,
I
checked it out
Brian
a little bit.
Dozier taking off his shirt.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was
I
fun
think
to watch.
Scherzer's still partying, man. I'm happy for him as a Detroit sports fan.
Him and Sanchez, man.
Yeah. Did you guys see that one guy that pretended to be Max Scherzer and got he had security guards around him and he was walking with the crowd and he looks exactly like Scherzer, but he wasn't Scherzer.
I don't
he was
think I got
high-fiving
that
people
one.
and taking selfies with people. You should look it up on Twitter after we're done recording. But it was pretty funny. I just want to say something real quick though. Last week when we were talking about the World Series, you guys were both like, "Oh, Astros in 6, Astros in 6," and I said, "No, guys, Nationals in 7."
I think I was on the National side. I'm pretty sure.
That was me. I was telling you it was almost a guarantee it was going to be done in 6.
I
you
thought
made
that
me
was
eat my
all
words on
Ryan. I
that.
don't know, I was
Okay.
kind of more on the National side. I like
I'm
that.
sorry, Chris. I'm sorry.
You're good, man.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
Can we talk about how bad Verlander has been in the past World Series he's been?
I think he's done. I think this is it for him.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
Even just don't look at the World Series, but look at the ALCS. I think he's a good regular season pitcher. 5 days rest, he's good to go. But
Hot take alert.
when it goes into the postseason, though, I don't know he can't do it because if you look at when he comes onto the bullpen, he's not that great. He had a few decent games in the ALCS.
I can't do that. I don't
But
know.
I know everyone loves Verlander here, and I love Verlander too. But he'll probably be good in the regular season again because 5 days rest, he's one of the best in the league. But when it comes to the postseason, you're playing on short rest, coming out of the bullpen. I just don't know. He's never really proven he's got that even back when he was with us.
I mean, he's had some awesome playoff performances, especially for the Tigers. I remember
5 days rest though.
Yeah,
rest.
true. He, I mean, it's tough to pitch a whole different animal pitching the playoffs. I'm gonna jump really far ahead just in a prediction. It's not really an off-season prediction. It's more of a playoff next year. I think Verlander's gonna come back with a vengeance next year. I think he's gonna have a great play. He's gonna get this criticism all off-season now. He's gonna hear it from different people, and Cole's gonna be out of town. He may win the Cy Young. We'll see. He's gonna come back with a chip on his shoulder after they didn't win the World Series. I think he's gonna dominate next year. I don't know how many more years he's got left. I think he's gonna have his best season of his career next year. I think it's gonna be dominant from Verlander. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wins Cy Young and the World Series MVP. That's a hot take.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll come with a chip on his shoulder, but at the same time, and it's the off season, and he's hanging out with Kate Upton and driving his really expensive cars.
I mean, he's done it for a while, man. I don't know.
Especially
give
like
him more
those
credit.
pictures that he took a few years ago.
Which pictures are you referring to?
Oh, you know what you're just referring to.
But I don't know. That's just my hot take, I guess. 'Cause I'm not a big. I mean, I love Verlander, but I don't know. I think he might be done. So you said you want Garrett Cole, or you think Garrett Cole's going to win the Cy Young?
Yes,
Ryan,
I do.
He
Ryan, what do
should.
you think?
He should win the Cy Young. Yeah.
I agree. I think Cole too.
I would be a little upset if JB. I don't think JB deserves it as much. I mean, he may win it just because he's, I guess, the bigger name.
I don't
But-
think.
We'll see. I don't know. I think Cole deserves it. He's been dominant. He's going to get paid somewhere else. I don't know where. I might say the Yankees in my prediction just because.
The Mets. Hot take. The Mets.
All right, yeah, man. Their rotation will be best in the
Crazy.
MLB by far if that happens. What about big name Anthony Rendon? What do you think about his MVP chances?
I was actually just about to ask you guys this, and I saw it was last night or 2 nights ago they came out with all the finalists for different awards. What was it? Rendon, Bellinger,
And Yelich.
and Yelich. So
I've
Yelich,
seen a lot of Yelich talk to, and I'm not liking it.
Yelich, I think would have gotten it had he not gotten
Yes,
hurt
I
at the end of
agree.
the year. But I don't know. I feel like Rendon is just a little bit recency bias, just because he just came off winning a World Series, and Bellinger did not have the best playoffs.
I think Bellinger's overrated. I think he really slowed down. He hit like 250 in the
that's
second
true.
half and did absolutely nothing in the playoffs. I'm not a big.
It
I hate the Dodgers. I think they're
They were a
a
pretender.
pretender every
Yeah.
year.
Yep.
That's
As soon as they got into the playoffs, outmatched
every year,
by
man. Kershaw's fake. I think Bellinger's fake. I don't know. I can't stand the Dodgers. I think Drew. Are you kind of like them a little bit?
I mean, I don't hate the Dodgers as much as you guys, but
Passionately hate them.
I'm not like a huge Dodger fan either, but I I agree. I feel like Rendon deserves it, but I feel like the hype around Bellinger is probably going to propel.
If he wins it, I'm not going to be happy, and I don't think anyone in Washington will be happy too. He's underappreciated. You know, he's not a big media presence, but he's been my favorite player for about 5 or 6 years now. I really liked him when he came up, definitely. And I said he was going to win an MVP years ago. You might not believe me, but I mean, you can ask my friends, man. I predicted that he was going to win an MVP a few years ago, and I got a lot of flack for it. And look where he is now. I think he should run away with this award personally, but you know, it's a favorite. It's there's favorite bias there from the stupid Dodgers, and Bellinger, and Rendon's not a big media presence or a marketable player. You just watch him play, and he's dominant at the play, and he's an underrated fielder too, man, for sure. He's right up there with he's right below the elite third baseman in this league in terms of defense.
Ryan, what are your award picks, real quick?
Can we all agree just quickly that Yelich is going to be third in that? Just based on the injury.
I've seen a lot of Yelich hype, though, from people. I don't know. I kind of think he's going to at least finish second. I wouldn't even be – he had a dominant season, man. I don't know.
He had a dominant season, but getting injured just took the whole wind out of the Brewers' sails during the playoffs.
I think
just one game and out.
Yeah. I think who deserves it is going to be very different than who actually gets it. I think who deserves it, probably Rendon, Bellinger, Yelich, but it's probably going to end up being Bellinger, Yelich, Rendon.
I wouldn't be surprised, like you guys mentioned, just because of L.A., the market.
And he's had the hype since April. So.
Yep.
Man, I'm not a fan.
These big market franchises.
Not a big fan of Bellinger. I think he's overrated.
We can all agree, though, that Mike Trout's winning the MVP for the AL, right?
Yeah, he deserves it. I think he can play one game in a season.
Did anybody else see Marcus Semien got nominated? I mean, he had a really good year.
Was that like a pity nomination? Or?
All right. Really so I was very surprised. I thought LeMahieu deserved some love there, but I kind of dove into the stats a little more. I think the only category there was only a few categories that LeMahieu had on Semien exactly. I think it was batting average, maybe RBIs, and a couple other stats. But I think WAR, a lot of defensive stats. Semien's really upgraded himself at the plate. I know. He only hit 285 and only had, I think, 91 RBIs, something like that. But, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. I'm kind of indifferent to it. They're both solid players, and Semien had an underrated season, too. LeMahieu, I mean, look at his counting stats. You're going to think, wow, this was ridiculous. But I've kind of dove into it a little bit, saw a couple things on Twitter about it, and kind of more I'm content with it. I don't really care.
I mean, I loved E.J. LeMahieu. He was on my fantasy baseball team this past year. I love that guy.
He's a beast.
But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're fighting for third place.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of indifferent. Bregman will be second for
Bregman's
sure.
going to be second, even though he's kind of a tool.
And he's overrated.
Yeah.
Hot take.
But, yeah, Trout. And then AL Cy Young, we said Cole. Ryan, you agreed with that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
What about NL Cy Young, Ryan?
That's last week.
No, we didn't cover this one yet.
Oh, man. NL Cy Young. I don't know. I'm trying to keep my bias out of this one. It's a little difficult for me. I don't know. I'd have to think about this one for a second. Drew, you want to go first?
So, it's a tough one because Ryu had a really good year. And I feel like the Dodger hype that we just talked about with Bellinger,
he's not winning the award.
It's going to go with him. I would love to see Scherzer win it for a fourth time, right?
Yeah, he's winning it.
Scherzer got hurt, though.
I'm not worried about it. I think
Scherzer?
I think it's either – was DeGrom the other finalist?
Yeah, I think it's DeGrom.
I think Ryu's the clear-cut third. I know he had a really good year. I think he's one of the only Dodgers players that isn't marketable. He's not a big – I mean, he's a foreign player. He's just breaking out now. He's not like a big name like Kershaw. I think Kershaw gets more love than he even gets. He's really underrated, and I like him as a pitcher. Next year, he's going to be in the hunt. I don't think he can win it with – he's just not a very big name. That's a popularity contest.
Yeah, I think it's DeGrom.
I would go to DeGrom. I think I'm going to go to DeGrom, too, because of Scherzer's injury.
And the Mets surprisingly they didn't make the playoffs, but I think they were the first team out of the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a big reason why their offense was terrible this year.
They had, I think, 83 wins, I think. 86 wins. Actually, 86 wins. That's a quality team. Sometimes you'll make the playoffs with a record like that.
They got to get some hitting.
I mean, their hitting won't impact DeGrom's Cy Young chances, though.
Oh, no doubt. I'm just talking about their playoff chances.
Their playoff chances next year. We can go into Mets talk if you want, but Carlos Beltran, MVP, or not MVP, going to the manager. I believe in that team. Anyway, though, DeGrom, Ryan, do you agree?
I agree. I'd really love to say Scherzer because he's one of my favorites in the league, but if we're talking about best years, I've just got to go with DeGrom. Good story for the Mets.
It'll be back-to-back, right? Yeah, because he won it 2018 too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, back-to-back dominant years for DeGrom. But why don't we hop into a little bit of off-season predictions before we take a little break here? Let's just dive in. This is my favorite story of the year because this is one of my favorite players. Francisco Lindor, talks of him going out of town. I'm not as big of an Indians hater as most Tigers fans. I'm really a big fan of Lindor. I like Kluber as well. There's some players I don't like. I don't like Carlos Santana, but it's really gonna stink if he. I love watching him play. I always go to a Tigers Indians game, and I just really like Lindor as a player. I think he's one of the best players in this league. But if the Dodgers get him, I'm not gonna be happy. And there's been a lot of talks about them getting him and Kluber, and that would not be good for baseball. I don't think.
One big thing I saw just a few hours ago was the Braves are going after Madison Bumgarner.
It's a big pickup for them.
I think. That's what they kind of need. They got Soroka, right, and Max Fried.
Fried's a good player.
And Julio's okay, but and Acuna, their offense is going to be good. They just need some more pitching. If they get Bumgarner, I really want them to make the NLCS because I felt like the Cardinals were really overrated. But if they get Bumgarner, I think they're going to be a really good team.
They can add a little more pitching to a stacked hitting lineup. This team is going to be good for a very long time. It's going to depend on their bullpen and their pitching. Ryan, you got any other big players you want to add on to the Braves talk here?
I'd like to talk quickly about Mookie Betts. Hasn't been extended yet. No talks are in the work. Red Sox were probably my most disappointing team of this MLB season. They're gonna have to do something because they're over the luxury tax threshold right now. So and JD Martinez didn't opt out of his contract.
He's coming back. That's big for them though.
That's big for them, but they're gonna have to move some money elsewhere to make room.
I don't know what's gonna. I don't know. They can't get rid of Betts. He's the heart and soul of this team. He's the best player in this team, and maybe the best player in this league after Trout, in my opinion. I really love Mookie as an all-around player. He had a kind of a down year.
Yep.
But I just don't see how you can ship off that kind of a player. They're paying Nathan Eovaldi way too much money to suck. He's terrible.
And he gets hurt all the time.
Yeah, he's not a good... He had one good season. Good for him. He got his money. But, man, I'm a big Red Sox fan, too.
I know they want to get under the salary cap, though. That's why they fired Dombrowski. They don't want to keep spending all this money. And I think I just saw, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, JD is coming back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was rumored earlier in the year that it was either going to be JD or Mookie that was going to leave. So maybe JD just opted in, and then they're going to trade him because he's only been there for 2 years, and Mookie's come up through the system, won an MVP.
He's fantastic. He's better than JD in almost every way.
I agree, but I don't know. I think one of them's going to be gone.
I do too. I'm kind of leaning towards Mookie. Mookie could be another target for the Dodgers to go after in the offseason.
Real quick before we take our short break. Let's do a rapid fire at the top 3 free agents. We'll all just say where we think they're going to go. So Garrett Cole, Anthony Rendon, Steven Strasburg. Ryan, start us off.
I like what Chris said earlier. I think Cole's going to go to the Yankees. The Yankees market's huge. They need him, like Chris said. I think it's a popular pick. I think he wants to go there. I think he's attracted to the market.
He does like the West Coast, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers scoop him up, too. They're looking to spend a bunch of money and unload the farm. They're sick of this losing crap, but I don't want them to get any of these names.
He's going to have to shave his sick beard, though, and maybe cut the flow. I don't know.
I think you allow for the flow when you get that dominant of pitching. They haven't seen a pitcher like him in years.
Well, he want to go there.
I've heard West Coast, man. He could. A dark horse team I'm going to say is the Padres. They got some money to spend. They just signed Machado. They're going to look to win soon with Tatis before they got to pay him. They're going to look to win very soon, and that could be a dark horse team to go get him. What about Rendon and Strasburg? They're both same team. What do you think about that, Ryan?
I got him going to the Rangers. I know the Nats were trying to lock him up for a while.
That's a dark horse, man. Both guys?
Yeah.
Wow, both of them. All right.
Texas, they got some money to spend down there. Everything's bigger in Texas. I just think that.
Rendon's going home, though, for sure.
What'd you say?
He's from Texas. He's from Houston, but he's going home.
Hometown kid, yeah. Yeah, I like the Rangers there.
I got to be honest. I was not expecting the Rangers.
Nope, not at all.
That was a good take. Good
I think they're both staying home. Man, I'm saying Rendon. If they can find a way to get Rendon's top priority. But I think Strasburg has a decent chance to come back. I don't know if he goes somewhere. Look for the Cubs, man. Maybe they need some pitching. Phillies could be another team they could go to. Strasburg, he could stay in conference and then haunt the Nats for years. He's a great pitcher, man. He's going to continue to be good for whatever team he goes to.
I'm gonna say Cole to the Phillies, and then I'm gonna say Strasburg to the Nationals. He's staying in Washington. And then
a lot of anticipation for that take, man.
Rendon's staying in the Nationals.
No way they get rid of Rendon. He's the heart and soul of this team,
Yeah,
man. I know you don't see it all the time. He's a great player.
Money talks, man. Texas can wave that those dollar bills in his face.
They've been talking extensions though forever.
Yeah,
so
Rendon's I'd say more likely out of the two, but I think they're both got a chance to stay at home. Texas, I agree with Texas for Strasburg, not as much for Rendon. I think Rendon's guaranteed to stay. I'd be stunned if he goes somewhere else.
So, you guys want any other MLB takes? We're gonna take a little short break.
No, I bet we'll dive into it in a future episode coming up.
Sure,
more free agent talk about some of the names we didn't get to. You can send in some. You can send in some questions to us at the USBcast at any time. We're gonna take a short break now. We'll be back in a second.
And we're back, and welcome to Bums of the Week. Chris, what is our first nominee?
It is the New York Football Jets, man. They're a big loss against the Miami Dolphins. That's pretty disappointing. Sam Darnold continues to see ghosts, even when the defense has been vanishing before him in the Miami Dolphins. What do you think about Adam Gase so far this year, Ryan?
Well, I know that you'd like to throw him under the bus and point the finger at him, say it's all his fault, but can we talk about how bad management is in New York? I mean,
that's terrible, man.
You hire one general manager, he does the draft, he does free agency, and then you fire him and then implement a new general manager that completely, at trade deadlines trying to shop the entire team. This GM right now, this is not his team. Of course there's going to be problems. Of course there's going to be. So I would not put this all on Adam Gase. He's not a great coach. He doesn't have a great track record, especially in Miami. But
agreed. No.
I wouldn't put this all on him.
I get what you're saying. No, it's definitely not all on him. I mean, he's just, I don't know. I just don't think he's a great in-game coach. And he keeps pulling up the image of him rolling his eyes before the season. I don't know how you hire that as your coach. That's just all I'm saying. He sucked in Miami. He hasn't been very good so far for New York. I know they don't have a great roster, but they got some talent. Sam Darnold hasn't been great, but they're not really using star running back Lev Bell very well.
Star running back?
Yeah, I'd say so.
System running back Le'Veon Bell.
You can stay at Homer.
System running back Le'Veon Bell.
He's a top 7 back, no doubt in my mind. They just got to start using him right, man. I know he's kind of coming off. He's got a couple minor injuries. Looks like he's going to be all right, which is good. But he's their best player by far. It's not even close. He's by far their best athlete, their best player on this team, and I still think he's a top 7 back, no doubt in my mind. He's a great receiver. They're just not using him right. Give him the ball on some screens, set up some short passes for Darnold to complete instead of chucking it downfield to Robbie Anderson, who can't seem to catch a cold.
I don't think it really matters though, guys, because the Jets suck, and that's why they're a bum.
They lost to the Dolphins, so congratulations, Jets. Real impressive job.
Good job. Bum of the week. Nominee number 2, we touched on them right before the break. The Houston Astros, who blew a 3-2 lead.
Yep, 3-2 at home.
Lost 4 games at home. Never been done before.
It's impressive.
Didn't put Garrett Cole in Game 7 for whatever reason, and they also had all that stuff which is not even baseball related to go with. That was their assistant general manager when he was attacking
comments. A reporter, I think
reporters,
it was. Yeah,
something like
he
that.
He got let go. That was good at least.
Yeah, just all around, just not good for the Houston Astros. No. They're a bum of the week.
Agreed. AJ Hinch, normally a good manager. It wasn't. As long as Cole was healthy, he should have been out there in the 8th. There, they needed him really badly. What did you think about? What did you think about the offense in that last game, Ryan?
Non-existent. Just to answer your question with one word.
Springer, George Springer's been a great player in the World Series, but he didn't really show up as much in this World Series. He had a couple big homers early in the series, and I think he had one in Game 5 or 6. I'd like to say a nice bomb from him there. This team they're going to be in it for a while, but this is going to be a tough one for Astros fans to swallow. Another a long season. They should have won. They flat out should have won, and Cole's going to be gone. It's going to get progressively harder to pay these guys coming up. So they're nominee too.
Are going to be done and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And Verlander, not to beat a dead horse here, but Verlander was also
not good.
And our first runner-up was
painful.
The Detroit Lions. I don't think we have to get too deep into it because we already kind of talked about how their bad play calling, their defenses look terrible, everyone in their division lost. They could have made a bunch of ground up, blah, blah, blah.
It's a choke
Lions
job.
still suck. The Lions still suck.
Yeah, they're going to be I don't know, they're not going to be bad enough to get a really high pick. They're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs in what probably is the best division in football. Stafford's looked impressive. Other than that, their defense, I'd like to single out their defense and Matt Patricia, man. You know, he's a defensive coordinator. He was a defensive coordinator at the Patriots, a good one to say the least. And so far here, he's been terrible. That defense has been objectively one of the worst in football.
31st in total defense this
They need
year.
to figure it out, man. I don't know.
They got to be a defensive coach and you're 31st in defense. What are you doing,
And
man?
Slay's going to be out the door real soon. You know,
Yeah,
he keeps
he's done.
commenting. I know he seems pissed about this vanilla defense that they're running all the time that everybody's been exposing. Quandre's gone. They kind of needed him. He's a playmaker for them for sure. I know he's having a down year, but you know he's just he's coming off a couple years ago he was an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler, and I think he's still that kind of player, I guess. Let's dive into the winner this week, and this was a blowout, and this one hits home for me. It's stinker Mitch Trubisky, man. Oh man, if I don't even get me started on this player, man. He shouldn't even be a starting quarterback in this league anymore, man. This man, he can't throw a football.
You got a 30-second time limit here, Chris.
Okay, let me just rant for a second. 125 yards against the worst pass defense in the NFL. How do you do that? You have Allen Robinson against a juicy matchup. He should have went off. You got weapons such as Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, and he's terrible, flat out. Less than a 50% completion percentage. 125 yards against a terrible pass defense who allows fantasy points and regular yards at will, and he had under a 70 rating. He didn't throw any picks, which is very surprising. The ground should count for him at this point.
Okay, you got that in about 30 seconds. For the viewer and the listener, Chris is not a big Mitchell Trubisky fan. If you did not catch that through his
He's
rant.
terrible.
Yep. Okay. And but yeah, Trubisky not a great quarterback. I think he could be better if he leaves Chicago because I feel like there's just way too much pressure on him there. Number 2 overall pick. You just keep seeing everything on Instagram about how he was picked above Mahomes and Watson, and it's just nonstop. And I just think there's way too much pressure.
I will. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off or anything here, but I will say this is actually. I'm going to defend him a little bit. I don't think they're using him quite right. I don't think he's a good. He's a terrible pocket passer.
Get him out of the pocket.
Yeah.
Just look at the stats. 16 of 29,
He
3
was a Pro
touchdowns
Bowler
when outside the
last
pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really take much value into the Pro Bowl, a ton of it at least at the quarterback position, but he at least, like last year, he had a couple big games. He can run the ball. He's only got 46 or 48 yards rushing for the season. No touchdowns. Last year, I think he averaged kind of close to that. They need to get him out of the pocket because I'd say he's an average NFL quarterback when he's out of the pocket, but when he's in the pocket, he's not even good enough to be a backup. This man can't throw the football.
That's what I'm saying. It's more of a team thing. I feel like Matt Nagy, the coaching staff, his teammates. Matt Nagy's supposed to be this offensive guru, and it's just they just don't have any faith in him, and it's impossible for anybody to succeed. And I don't think Trubisky is the most talented guy in the world.
Absolutely.
But when you on top of that, he's also set up to fail. It's not going to end well for Trubisky, and they got to trade it. Hopefully, he has a few big weeks here to end the year.
Maybe they can trade him for something.
I don't think the Bears are making the playoffs. They can trade him for something. The Bears
Get
can get a better quarterback, and Trubisky maybe can get his career back on track.
You can't bench the guy.
He's still really young.
You can't bench the guy yet because I think that's his career is over. Then I don't know. He was all right last season. He was probably league average last year, and he can move a little bit. And he helped them win a couple of football games.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, 125 yards. It's just not going to cut it, man. When you're throwing wounded ducks all over the field, they're not even interceptable passes. That's how bad they are. The reads they're not even bad reads. You just can't throw the football. I watched him miss, I think it was Anthony Miller in the slot wide open for 25 yards. He missed him by 15 yards, threw it straight into the turf. It wasn't even interceptable. That's how bad of a throw it was. More of that from him. I'm just expecting him to keep being trash all year, but we'll see. Maybe he'll turn it around. I kind of hope not.
Ryan, do you have any other Mitchell Trubisky talk?
No, you can't really defend the guy with stats like that. So
putrid numbers.
On the bright side, though, apparently he turned off all the TVs in their hall. So
he's got focused on throwing incomplete pass, and he's really gonna be focused in on the ground.
So hey, he says that'll spark the turnaround for the Bears, but
sure
I don't understand how turning a TV off will shut up the haters.
They get the runner-up this week in the Lions for the choke job. Let's see. I mean, if he can't tear up this defense, he might be right back on this list as the winner next week. I wouldn't be. He'll get my vote if he can't throw for at least 250 and 2.
So now we're gonna keep talking football here. We're talking about fantasy football though.
Yes,
we all have teams. We have a league. I have 5 teams. How many teams do you got, Chris?
I think I got 6 this year. I mean, there's one general that I really care about. I'm only 3-6 in that league, but some of the other ones I'm doing pretty well in. We have our own little podcast league. It was kind of last minute. It's only pathetically a 6-team league, but we have fun. I've been checking it a little bit, but let's jump into some of the.
Wait, Ryan, how many teams do you got?
My bad.
I got 2. I got one money league that I mainly focus on, and I'm also in that podcast league, which is not going too well for me. But we just changed the league settings today, so hopefully that benefits.
All the scoring settings were messed up, so we changed them.
Yep.
And our records all changed because of it. Wait, what? You can go look if you want, man. I mean, we decided to change it to normal scoring system.
Yeah, we edited out all those bonuses.
You're 8-1, so you shouldn't be too upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it changed the records.
We were thinking about outlawing some of the players. We were thinking about outlawing some of the players on your team, though, Drew, just to piss you off. So.
We just wanted to make you mad.
Thanks, guys. Anyway, starts of the week, Ryan.
All right, to start off at quarterback, I got Drew Brees playing the Falcons this weekend, who are currently 23rd in passing defense, which is not very good. They've also given up 19 touchdowns through the air, which is tied for 3rd most in the league. They've also allowed the 4th most points to quarterback this year, so this is a very favorable matchup for Brees, and he's coming off a huge week. And then he had that bye week just last week. His thumb's probably pretty much healed by now. I like him and Michael Thomas in that explosive offense.
You get Kamara back too. He's always a threat to score through the air. I'd expect a big game out of Brees. What about you, Drew? What do you got going on?
For quarterback, I actually had Drew Brees, but then Ryan stole my pick, so I'm gonna go Jameis Winston. I'm gonna go Jameis Winston versus Arizona. I have him on one of my teams, and he's actually been pretty good so far this year. Fantasy-wise, he's been nearly a top 10 guy. I know he throws a bunch of interceptions, but Bruce Arians in that offense, he's able to get a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns to kind of negate all the interceptions he throws. And this week he's got a really good matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. They are the worst team against quarterbacks in terms of fantasy this year, and I think also in terms of real-life football. So he's going to be really good. And it's hard to have a bad week against that weak Cardinals defense, and I think he's going to be really good. Chris, what do you got?
I got my guy Phil Rivers from the Chargers. He's had kind of an up and down year, not throwing too many touchdown passes, but he gets a Thursday night matchup against the Oakland Raiders. They're allowing a ton of yards to quarterbacks, actually the most in the whole NFL right now in yardage. They also have a pretty good run D. I'm kind of expecting a decent game out of Melvin Gordon as well, and also Austin Eckler. I think this is a get-right game for this offense. I think he's going to throw for a couple scores, use the receivers, the running backs out of the backfield. Maybe get Keenan Allen going a little bit. He's been kind of slow. I like him as a nice streaming option, the low-end starter. I'd even put him maybe in a FanDuel league or two. That might be smart. I'd expect him to have a nice game.
Ryan, what's your top running back pick?
Just when I thought I was about to give up on David Montgomery, he has a strong last 2 weeks. He's got 175 yards and 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He's always had a strong workload. The touchdowns and the yards just haven't been there, especially with all the struggles Trubisky has. I'm not too sure about this, but I would go with Montgomery because he's facing a Lions defense who currently give up the most fantasy running back points and also the 6th most yards on the ground in a game. What about you, Drew? Who do you got at running back?
David Montgomery's a great pick. I had him on one of my teams last week, and he really proved up big just because I had so many backs on bye, and he was just available, and I picked him up, and he thankfully had a really good week.
What league are you playing in when you got waivers like David Montgomery? He should be rostered in all leagues.
He had a rough stretch there for a little while,
agree,
and then
he
was open.
Though.
He was open.
I get you.
I'm not complaining. Anyway, my running back pick is Mark Ingram. He's playing the Bengals this week. He's quietly been a top 10 running back this year, even though Lamar Jackson's garnering all the headlines for the Ravens. He's been a top 10 back this year. Only scored below 10 points 3 times. He's super consistent. Even though he might not have the huge week, he won't bust on you. And then they're coming off the huge win versus New England. They're facing the winless Bengals, 2nd most rushing yards this year. They're going to be up big, so they're going to run the ball there down the stretch to drain the clock. And he had 13 rushes for 52 yards and a touchdown versus Cincinnati when they played in Week 6. So I think he's got a really big week this week. Chris, what's your running back?
I got a couple running back starts. I'm going to go over them real quick here. I got Devin Singletary. He looks like a second-half promising player here for us. He's playing the 30th ranked Browns run defense, and that's a juicy matchup for sure. And he got 20 carries for 95 and a touchdown, and had a few receptions as well on a big gain through the air. Start him as a running back too. I think it's a pretty safe floor for him and a very high ceiling. I would start him over a lot of guys, and I'm kind of debating between him and Melvin Gordon in my own league right now. I'm not sure who I'm going to pick. And then I also got recently promoted to the starter, Ronald Jones in Tampa Bay. He's not, like I just said, he just got promoted to the starter over Peyton Barber, who's not a very good running back. Jones has got some talent and some juice and probably some motivation now to have a big game. And he's got a great matchup against the Cardinals. And they're all right against backs, but I expect him to have a nice floor, 80 yards, maybe even a touchdown, a couple of receptions. He could be a nice RB2 to flex for you as well.
That's a good pick. Both those are good picks. I know Ronald Jones has been a hot pickup because he was actually available in most of.
I was able to scoop him up in
a lot of leagues. A lot of leagues he was available. Looking to the receiver, Ryan, who you got?
I got Galladay from Detroit. As bad as their defense has been, this offense with Stafford and Jones and Galladay has been just excellent these last few weeks. Just the sheer volume of target he gets in the red zone and his red zone presence, I think he merits a start in fantasy this week. And plus,
smart pickup.
Matt Stafford's been, let's face it, he's been best player in Detroit so far. So I'd start Galladay with some confidence this week.
That's a really good pick. Not to plug myself or anything, but I met Kenny Galladay over the summer. Very nice guy. Whatever. That guy. Kenny G.
I have his jersey. Go Kenny G, baby.
Isn't that the one dude that plays the saxophone? Isn't there Kenny G?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kenny G.
He runs those smooth routes as well, just like the smooth sax.
He said sax. He did not say sax. Anyway, Keenan Allen. That's my receiver pick versus Oakland. He's been probably one of the biggest busts in terms of fantasy this year. Him or Joe Mixon are right up there. He had a monster first few weeks, but then he's been battling injuries. They've been spreading the wealth out there in LA between all the guys. They are kind of turning it around, but like I said, they got Mike Williams, Melvin Gordon's back, Austin Eckler.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully they can get the ball to Allen this week. They're playing the Raiders, who, as the Lions saw last week, they are the worst AFC team against opposing teams' receivers in terms of yards. So hopefully this will be Allen's chance to get back on track, have a really good week.
Goes hand in hand with Phil Rivers, too, as the starter.
Yeah, and he should finally be able to
It's a get-right game for these two.
Yeah,
it's a confidence booster for both of them, for sure. I got a little lower down pick here for wide receiver. I got Devontae Parker from Miami. You know, he's been quietly having a decent season. He's still probably on a lot of waivers. You can pick him up and start him in this bye-pocalypse we got going on. We got 6 teams on bye, a lot of good receivers that are better options than him. But Indy's, there's just a downright average pass defense, and Preston Williams is he's out for the year now. So he's pretty much the only receiver in Miami with, I guess you can call it talent. He's a former first-round pick, and as long as Fitzmagic is still the quarterback, I expect him to get a lot of work. I'd say 70 yards and a touchdown would be a nice flex option for you there. Hey, Ryan, what do we got over at tight end for me?
I'm going to go with my guy, Hunter Henry. Since 4 weeks since returning from injury, he's got 25 receptions with 2 touchdowns. He averages about 8 targets a game, which is a ton for a tight end. And just his presence in the red zone, 6'6", 250. And he's playing the Raiders, who we've mentioned before, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They already gave up almost 30 points to Darren Waller about 3 weeks ago, and they also gave up 14 to Travis Kelce about 2 weeks ago. So I would start Henry with confidence this week.
Yeah, he's been one of the best tight ends all year. And Chris is currently showing us the black cat from the Giants-Cowboys game a couple nights ago.
He got added into the ESPN fantasy app with it said he got 11.2 points, and he's only owned by 0.4 leagues. Pick him up.
That's my tight end pick of the week. Because honestly, nobody freaking knows that tight end. That's what I wrote in my notes.
Touchdown or bust.
I got, obviously you can put Kelce or Kittle, but I wanted to kind of think outside the box here. So I got Gerald Everett, again, for the Rams. He's facing it off against the Steelers. Coming off a bye, the Rams have been not as good as people expected them to be, so hopefully out of the bye they're going to have a really big week. He's been boom or bust so far this year. He's got 3 weeks at least 12 points, 4 weeks of one or below points. So
or bust.
Yeah, so you can start with at least a little confidence this week because the Steelers are a top 10 worst team against tight ends, and like I said, the Rams are a good offense. Hopefully they can get him the ball, specifically in the end zone. But Chris, what do you got?
I'm going to give you another deep pick for me. This is going to be the talented rookie from Minnesota. I'm going to go Irv Smith.
Honestly, I've never heard that guy's name before in my life.
Alabama
really?
product.
He's a talented. He's a rookie. They picked him in I think it was the first round this year.
Out of Alabama.
Yeah, they got Kyle Rudolph there, but he's been his snap his snap percentages increased like week to week. He's averaged I think 7 to 10 points in PPR the last like 3 or 4 weeks, and they don't have Adam Thielen for the next couple weeks. So this could be a nice stash if you've got bye week. If you got no options, you're in a deeper league. Go after Irv Smith. He's got some upside this week for sure. I'm not sure if he could goose you for sure. Definitely, it's in the possibility or realm of possibilities. But
honestly, that's true for every
yeah, exactly. So. It's tough when you get to those streamers. Irv Smith, I think he's definitely got some talent. He's got he can run those downfield routes for you. If he catches a touchdown, you're going to be really happy for sure.
Yeah, it's honestly with tight end. It's as long as if you don't have Kelsey and you don't have Kittle, even Ertz has been a really big disappointment. So. It's just whatever you can get your hands on, I guess. That's where you have to go with.
If you can get Everett, you're not going to find Henry on any waivers, but if you can find Everett, take him over Irv Smith. There's some other guys you can go after. He's probably a top 15 tight end in my opinion. Irv Smith is, but you can play him for sure. His usage's going up. I think he's going to be a real talented tight end. I know Drew's never even heard of him. Not a true fan like me apparently.
Yeah, I'm not a big Minnesota Vikings, Alabama fan, so I guess I don't know who Irv Smith is. Sorry, guys.
You're fine.
Anyway, another big thing that we like to do is sports betting. Sports bets, they're legal now, right? In most, they're good.
Kind of legal.
Yeah, kind of legal.
My bookie for sure.
Yeah, so we like making bets. So each week we're gonna make a best bet. We might start doing some worst bets too, but for this week, let's just stick with best bets. I'll start us off here. My best bet is Seahawks versus Niners. Niners are currently favored by 6. At least that's according to FanDuel. As Chris and hopefully I said earlier, I think the Seahawks could upset the 49ers this week. The 49ers are coming in maybe a little overconfident. Russell Wilson's played like an MVP this year, and I think that's a really good bet to make is Seahawks +6. And even if they lose by a field goal, you're still going to win with the Seahawks.
I think they're winning this game outright. I'd take the money line for this. What about you, Ryan? You want to weigh in on this one real quick before you say yours?
I don't know. I'd take the Niners just because of how they're playing right now. They're hot.
They're at home.
I like Russell Wilson, but I'm not sold on the Seahawks defense. Can we talk about how middle of the road they are? Even with Clowney
the
and
Niners are getting healthier on the O-line too.
Yeah, I think it's regardless of who wins or loses. I think it's going to be a close game.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I think +6 is a lot of points. I think even if it's a 3-point game, you're still winning with the Seahawks.
It's a good pick. Ryan, you want to give us your take?
I'm going to go to college football with my pick. Got a big showdown in the Big Ten besides the Penn State, Minnesota. Iowa plays Wisconsin. Currently, Wisconsin's a 9.5-point favorite, which is pretty high considering that both teams are anemic on offense. If you're a fan, don't tune in to watch this game because there's going to be a lot of punts, and it's probably going to be very boring.
Punt City, baby.
Yeah. So 9.5 points is too much. Wisconsin's not going to be able to cover that spread. It's going to be a close game, probably about a 3 or 5 point game. So expect Wisconsin not to cover this weekend.
Yeah, that's a good bet. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't even score 9.5 points. If I'm being honest.
That's a little over dramatic for Wisconsin. JT is still a stud. I think he's going to get it back going. I actually disagree with you. I don't know if I'd make a bet either
JT
way.
Against AJ Epinesa and Chauncey Golston. You like that matchup?
He's going to be a first rounder.
9.5 is still a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, no, for sure. I don't think I would make a bet either way. I like the pick. It's a ballsy pick for sure, no doubt. That's what you got to do. That's how you win big money. There is make some ballsy picks. But I don't know. I kind of like Wisconsin to cover. Maybe I don't know. I wouldn't bet it. No chance I bet it because I don't like Cohen or their defense. That's kind of iffy too. I don't know on that. But I'll give you mine. I got Lions money line against the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. I'm assuming he's going to throw a pick 6 this game. I don't know. He's due. He hasn't thrown enough picks yet this year. But I don't know. I like the Lions. They need a win. The Bears kind of need this one too. It's in Chicago, and I don't know. I'm not really sold on this Bears. Even this Bears defense, they're running into some injuries on the D line. They're probably not going to be able to pressure Stafford a lot besides Khalil Mack. And he hasn't even been a big factor this year. I don't know. I'm not really sold on even the Bears defense. I think Stafford can light them on fire a little bit, and I actually think this is a get right game for the Lions defense. I think they can hold the Bears to under 20, which is like scoring 100 for any other team because Trubisky is so anemic as a quarterback. That dude, oh man, he's terrible. Let's not start about that again. Let's move on. I have a second pick real quick.
Okay.
The over 51 points in Washington State against Cal. I don't know. Washington State with Aaron Gordon. I just expect them to to score a lot of points in this game. Cal's defense is pretty good. This is kind of a risky pick, but I anytime I see Washington State with a line like this, I have to take it. I'm going to be making this play this weekend for sure. Maybe even a pretty decent, substantial bet on this one.
Yeah, I mean, those are all really good picks, guys. And just remember, USB is not responsible for any money that you do lose based on these bets. It's not our fault. So if you take our advice and we're wrong,
at your own risk.
Yeah, so it's not our fault. So yeah, bet at your own risk, though. But I think those are good picks, and I think they're all probably gonna work out. But really, with sports, you never know. Before we finish off, though, for the podcast, we're gonna finish off with one more thing. We all really love NBA, and we haven't really talked any NBA, so we're gonna finish off with a top 10. It's going to be a top 10 segment of the podcast.
We're going to have that every week.
Yes. And for this week, the first week, we're going to do a top 10 players in the NBA right now. So we all have a top 10 list. There's some honorable mentions. And Chris, why don't you start us off?
We're going to go honorable mentions. I'm gonna give you all mine right now. I got Luka as an honorable mention. I got Kemba. I got Bradley Beal. I got Blake Griffin. Just missed out. Joel Embiid, and then this is a hot take. I'm going to go James Harden. I want to get in depth for him a little bit. This is why I don't think he's a top 10 player. He's super inefficient. He's off to a terrible start this year in efficiency. I know he scores the big points. It's all on free throws. I don't know. He plays a boring brand of basketball. He's a skilled scorer, non-existent defender. I don't know. I'm not really a big Harden guy. He's still he's in the top 15. He's in the honorable mentions list. But I'm not really sold on him as a winner. I don't think he shows up in the playoffs, and he's super inefficient. I think he cares more about his stats than actually winning basketball games. So he's a little overrated for me. I'm assuming these guys probably both got him on their list. I haven't checked it out yet, but we'll see.
So my honorable mentions are so I got a few guys here. They're honorable mentions just because of injuries. That's Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Blake Griffin. Curry and Durant would obviously be top 5 on my list, but just injuries, I don't have him up there. And Blake probably be around 8, 9, 10. He might have still been an honorable mention anyway if he was healthy. Other guys, I got Kyrie Irving. He was for my 10th spot. He was the toughest decision I had to make because he's been, even though he is kind of a ball hog, you can't deny his talent. He's a really good player. 50 points, and I think he was really tough, and I was losing sleep over this last night, not gonna lie. And then Russell Westbrook, I know he's not efficient, but his talent is there. He's a walking triple-double. He almost made my list. And then Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, probably the two of the best shooting guards in the league right now.
Beal's really underrated.
Yeah, they're both really underrated. Booker is starting to get a little bit more attention just because the Suns are finally improving. But Beal and Booker, two of my favorite players in the league, and I almost put them on my list. But Ryan, what about your honorable mentions before we get to the top 10?
So I got Klay Thompson. A little disappointed that he's not going to be able to play this year, show off his talents. Obviously, we all know the Warriors are kind of a train wreck right now.
Yay.
I like what he does at both ends of the floor. He's an elite defender. He can really stroke it, get a shot off from pretty much anywhere.
What? Just keep going. You said stroke.
Yeah, he can really stroke it. I like Cat, also my honorable mentions. He's got to get better on the defensive end of the floor, but in terms of offensive ability, I mean, this guy can score from anywhere.
I like that.
You'd like to see him inside the paint more, not attempting threes, but it seems like he's got a real good connection with that new coach over in Minnesota. Also got Luka on there. I have a sneaking suspicion that this kid's going to be the future of the league. Just talented.
In the league, 3 years, mark my words.
Fundamentally sound in every area of his game. He's got to improve on defense, but on offensively, he's just fluid, smooth, everything you want out of a scorer. Also got Damian Lillard on my list. I would have put him higher, but defensively,
Hot take.
defensively sometimes he can be a liability, and he can also disappear in big games. So that's why I had him on my honorable mentions.
Well, I disagree with that, and we'll get to how I disagree with that in a second.
Sir.
But Ryan, why don't you start us off with your top 10?
You want me to go with number one because you guys
Start at 10, and
Okay.
then we'll just keep alternating.
you guys aren't gonna look number one, but 10 I got Kyrie Irving. Bit of a ball hog, bit of a cancerous teammate, but you're talking about a pure scorer. I mean, Kyrie's right up there with the best of
I
them.
completely agree with that. He was almost my 10 guy. Like I said, super talented, can't deny the talent, even if he's maybe not all there in the head. Chris, what's your number 10 guy?
I got the Joker, Nikola Jokic. You know, he's a big man. He's a good one for sure. He's a walking triple-double. You know, he can shoot the 3-ball. Not a great defender, but the other things on the floor, he can do really well. He can pretty much do anything. He's a great passer, probably the best passing big man. And I think best all-around big man over guys like Cat and Embiid. But that's pretty much all I got on him. Ryan, what are we looking at for you?
You guys skipped my number 10 guys, so let's just.
Yeah, it's a
calm
little
down
unfair. Let's
second.
get Drew's 10 before we get 9.
My number 10 guy is Luka Doncic, the donk. Probably the best player in the NBA in 2 years. I'm gonna one up you on your bold prediction,
All
there,
right.
Chris. He's just an all-around fun player to watch. He lost a little bit of that baby fat he had last year. LeBron called him a bad mother trucker the other night. So when LeBron's saying stuff like that about you, I mean, he's a really good player. So he's good fun to watch. He does it all on the floor. Can improve defensively.
He's another walking triple-double.
That's why he's number 10 right now. But one day he's going to be number 1. He's going to be competing with guys like Kawhi and Giannis for the top player in the league. So
Interesting. I agree.
So Ryan, what's your number 9 guy? Now we can get to Ryan.
At 9, I got the best big man in the league, Joel Embiid. I really value guys that can get it done at both ends of the floor. Embiid's one of the best shot blockers in the NBA, elite defender. We know what he can do inside. He's a little been a little spotty from outside, but he can definitely knock it down from outside and get a shot from anywhere on the floor. So I got Embiid at 9. What about you, Chris? What do you got at 9?
I got Kyrie at 9, man. You know, he's an elite point guard in my opinion. He's really carrying this Nets team. He's kind of kept quiet to himself so far this year. I know I'm sure that isn't going to change when they start losing more games, but you know, I think he proved that he can run a team at least to be a playoff contender. Without KD, they're not going to go super far in the playoffs, but he's averaging over 30 a night. He's been passing well. He's been shooting the ball pretty well. Taking a lot of shots, but not as many as you'd think. He's been moderately efficient.
Yeah, I've said it twice already, but yeah, Kyrie's a really good player. And even though he's got some drama on him, he's super talented. When he wants to lock down defensively, he's locked down defensively. And my number 9 guy, though, is probably the hottest take I might have. Not the hottest guy. Hottest take I have, that's LeBron James.
Wow.
I got LeBron James at number 9. I think he's old, and though he's still really good, he's still a top 10 player. I don't think he's as good as he was in the past. He's still one of the best players ever to play.
I mean, he averaged 27 a game last year. What more do you want him to do? There's no
gets
way you can have him that low on the list. This is a bad take.
He gets injured all the time now, and I don't know. He's just he's lackadaisical on offense. On defense, it wouldn't surprise me if he spends another extended period on the injury table again. And I just don't believe in him anymore. And maybe I'm a little biased because I've never liked LeBron, so maybe that's some of my bias is going into it. But
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
No
for
doubt
sure.
in my mind.
But yeah, number 9, Ryan, what's yours?
At number 8, I got Paul George. Just think about how fun this is going to be when he comes back to the Clippers. You got Kawhi, Paul George, and Pat Beverly. I mean, who's going to score on that defense?
Lance, baby.
Not just defensively. Paul George is a great three-point shooter. He's good when he's driving to the basket. Very explosive athlete. So I got Paul George at 8. How about you, Chris? What do you got at 8?
I also got Paul George, so I'm not really going to do a whole lot after. I'm just going to talk about, I'm just going to reinforce. When he gets back from that shoulder injury, they're going to clamp up, and him and Kawhi are going to score 60 a game combined most nights. I don't think this team can even be beatable. I think the Lakers are probably the closest thing to them, but with PG and Kawhi, the Claw himself, that's a great duo, man. I don't know if anyone can top them. What do you got there at 8, Drew?
Karl Anthony Towns. I know our producer John's going to like this one because he's a big Minnesota Timberwolves fan. But, yeah, Towns, if you look at his numbers right now, they're very comparable to Giannis's in his MVP year. And then he got into a massive fight with Embiid last week, proving that he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Maybe he's not as soft as everybody thinks he is. Kind of like Ryan said earlier, he's got to improve defensively. But if he can improve defensively, I think he could be right up there with Doncic. Luka. I can never say his last name for some reason. He'll be right up there with Luka as a top 3 player in the league for many, many years to come. Ryan, what's your number 7 guy?
Chris, you're not going to like this. I got James Harden at number 7. Just about the pure... I think James Harden right now is the best isolation player in basketball. I don't care about the whole fouls. He knows how to manipulate the system. That's how he gets a lot of his points. Good for him. Him and his step back, that's also controversial, but just from 3-point land and...
Yeah, right.
It's been proven that you look it up on YouTube. It's not travel, so you got to watch closely. But anyways, just him scoring the ball. I got him at 7 just because of his scoring ability.
Oh man, I don't know. I can't really agree with that. I've had him on my honorable mentions. I think he's a little overrated. Obviously, one of the best scorers in the league. But he can't really do anything. I don't know. He doesn't really do much else very well. He's a good passer. He turns the ball over a lot. I got My favorite player in the NBA and one of my favorite athletes of all time, I got D. Lil. This is the second best point guard in the NBA. No doubt in my mind. He's the most underrated player in the league. He's a great scorer. He really shows out in the playoffs, and he owns Russell Westbrook. He owns stock in Russell Westbrook's head, who's another really good guard. But I don't know, man. When he wants to turn it up on defense, he can do it. He's a great passer. He can rebound a little bit. He's pretty efficient, great free throw shooter, but he gets it done in a lot of different ways. And he's the leader of this underrated Portland team that consistently gets to the playoffs and finally got over the hump of losing in the first round. And then what do we got over there for you, Drew?
I got the Joker, Nikola Jokic. He's got off to kind of a slow start this year, but like I said earlier when Chris, you were talking about him at number 10, he's a walking triple-double, and even though he's gone up to a slow start, he's still nearly averaging a triple-double. He was my MVP pick going into the year. I don't know if he'll be able to do that now with the slow start, but I think he'll be able to turn it around. He kind of got off to a very similar slow start last season, but if he turns it around, gets a little bit better defensively, I think if he loses a little bit of weight, I love the dad bod out there, but he's got to hit the gym a little bit, and I think if he does, gets a little bit better defensively, he could be one of the best big men of all time. I mean, he's so gifted offensively, and he just got to show a little more commitment, and I think the Nuggets are going to be good this year, and that's why I got him number 7.
He's going to be a big part of their success this year. This is going to be a good basketball team there. What do we got over there, Ryan?
All right, at number 6, I got Steph Curry. Best shooter of all time, in my opinion. I don't think it's close. Not just scoring the ball. He's really improved his ball handling and passing ability, which just makes him a dual threat. You're not going to know what he's going to do out there on the floor. He can get a shot off from anywhere and anybody's face with any amount of defenders. Defensively, he's not great, but he's kind of an average defender. But just his scoring ability from three-point land makes him my number 6 pick.
And then I also got Curry at 6. We're on the same page over here, Ryan. He's a great scorer. I don't really need to see anything else. I'm really sad to see him go down with an injury, but they might get a lotto pick out of this, and then they're going to be right back to competing for not national championship. That's college basketball. For NBA titles, they had a good run. Dynasty. I don't think the dynasty's over yet.
Dynasty's done.
No,
it's
they
done.
can sell off Russell.
It's over.
And get a nice couple draft picks and some solid players around Curry and Clay. When he's back, he's going to be unbelievable as he usually is.
They might trade both Russell and maybe DeAndre Jordan. They might trade Draymond Green with. I also had some rumors about that. So I agree with Ryan, and dynasty's over. Anyway, though, my number 6 guy, Joel Embiid, like Ryan said, one of the best big men in the game right now. And again, he's had some injury issues, but when he's on, he's one of the best two-way players in the game. He'll be in MVP talks as long as he stays healthy, and Defensive Player of the Year talks. He's going to lead a really good Sixers team. They were undefeated until last night, and he wasn't even playing because of the suspension, because of the fight between him and Towns. He's going to be a really good player for years to come, and that's why he's my number 6 guy. Ryan, who's your? Let's get into the top 5. Who's your number 5?
At 5, I got LeBron. I also thought LeBron's kind of getting past his prime here, but I didn't want to go as far as to put him at 9.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but we know what LeBron can do on the floor. Excellent passer, probably one of the most underrated passers in the game. Offensively, he's streaky from three-point land, but just his what he means to the Lakers and what he means to this team, just as an overall player, I got him at number 5 this year. How about you, Chris? What do you got at 5?
I got the big man, AD. He's a beast. There's no other way to put it. Him and LeBron are going to compete for championships for a little while until LeBron starts to actually get washed. Unlike my co-host here, think he's already done. It's ridiculous. I don't agree with it. AD is just he's a complete player. He's the package. He's the player that LeBron needs as, they're like a 1-2 punch. I don't think either one of them is considerably better than the other. There's an argument for both, and AD's off to a hot start this year. Drew, who do you got over there, man?
I completely agree with you. At number 5, I also have Anthony Davis, and I won't waste anyone's time. Everything that you just said, I agree with. He does have some injury issues, kind of like Embiid, but when he stays healthy, again, just like Embiid, he's almost like an improved version of Embiid, one of the best two-way players in all of basketball. Let's go farther in the top 5. Ryan, you got number 4.
At number 4, I bumped Anthony Davis up one spot for me. I just think that, honestly, he should be in MVP conversation this year. He's going to be that good if he stays healthy. So I got Davis at 4. How about you, Chris? Who do you got at 4?
I'm going with, I know Drew had him on his honorable mentions list, but you can't forget about KD, man. He's the best scorer in the NBA, in my opinion. I don't think there's anyone even close. I don't care about Harden's stupid ability to shoot free throws. KD, pure scoring. He can do it all. I even think he's a little overrated. That's why I have him at 4. I think some people think he's the best player in the NBA. He's close, but I don't know. Sometimes he can. I don't know. He kind of pisses me off sometimes, but he's a really good scorer. He can play a little defense too. And when he joins this Brooklyn team with Kyrie and him, I think they're going to make a really nice duo. And I think he can kind of rein Kyrie in and kind of set him into a more. Honestly, I think Kyrie could be a leader on this team. That's an unpopular opinion, but I don't know. I think this will be a NBA Finals team, maybe even as soon as next year. And what do we got over there from you, Drew?
Yeah, hopefully when KD can get back soon. I'm with you. I'm not a big KD fan. I used to be a huge KD fan. Now he's kind of just a jerk. But hopefully he gets back soon. Hopefully he's back to because the NBA is just a better place with KD. But number 4, I got Damian Lillard. I know. I think he was on your honorable mention list, Ryan, and Chris. You had him a little bit lower on your list. I think he's the best point guard in the league. Super underrated. He was in MVP talks last year, deservedly so. He hit that big jump shot against Paul George and the Thunder to knock him out of the round, which was awesome. They made it to the conference finals, beating the Nuggets, and then of course losing to the Warriors. He's just a really good player, best point guard in the league in my opinion, and I think he's only going to get better.
Let me talk about Lillard just for a second. You know, I think he's the most clutch player in the NBA, man. He's ice cold in those clutch moments. You know, I really like him as a player. He's the unquestioned leader of this team, and he doesn't carry him necessarily because they got a good roster, but he is by unquestioned the best player and the leader of this team. And what do we got over there? Number 3, Ryan.
Number 3, I got the board man himself, Mr. Kawhi Leonard, coming off Finals MVP season. What would have been an MVP caliber season if he could stay healthy. Won that championship with Toronto. I got him at 3 because his defense has started to slack a little bit. I know he kind of clamped up Giannis in that series in the playoffs last year, but we know
he saves it for the playoffs, no doubt.
Yeah, we know what he can do offensively. That mid-range game is just deadly. Pretty good three-point shooter, and he's also a great rebounder. But defensively, I'd like to see him pick it up a little bit. But I got him at number 3 for me. What about you, Chris?
And I got the ageless LeBron at number 3. You know, he's not at all. That's flat out a stupid take. I'm sorry, co-host. He's a great player. You know, I think he's gonna have a great year. If he can stay healthy, they can manage his workload a little, kind of how they do with Kawhi over in the Clips and the Raptors. I think he can be better than ever, honestly. I think he's still got a couple more dominant seasons in him, and he could do it all. I think his defense is a little iffy sometimes. When he wants to play defense, he's a freak as an athlete. So I don't know. I just think these two are haters of LeBron, can't put their bias aside. I don't even like LeBron very much either, but I still think he's a top 3 player in this league. And if you said he was 1, I wouldn't be mad.
I would be mad. And you're probably, as much as you hate my LeBron take, you're also going to hate my number 3 pick. It's James Harden. He's an MVP candidate. Probably could have, should have won won the MVP last year.
Nope.
You just look at his points per game. He's gotten off to a slow start. I think he's still averaging over 30 points a game. So the beard, he's just awesome. He's just a great player. Him with Westbrook, it's going to take a lot of the pressure off him this year. I think he's going to be even better. And I think the Rockets are going to be good. This might be the year they finally break through. Who knows? They've gone off to a slow start.
Nope.
But I think Harden's one of the best talents in the league. And I don't know. I don't know why Chris is hating on him so much. But
I mean, just to comment real quick on him, I'm not going to spend too much more time on him because they kind of already. I mean, he's still a top 15 player in this league. He's maybe the best scorer in the NBA, but he can't do anything else. That's just my opinion on him. I think he's a turnover machine, very hyper inefficient, really good free throw shooter, maybe the best in the league at that. Gets to the line a lot.
Steph Curry's the best free throw
Okay,
free throw
well, he's
shooter.
arguably the best then. We'll say that, but no defense. I don't know. He doesn't play defense flat out. There's no he's not a bad defender.
Than it used to be.
That's not saying much. All right, I'm done talking about him. Let's go on to number 2, Ryan.
Number 2, I got Giannis, the Greek freak himself. I think if he can develop a jump shot, I'm going to move him up to number 1. We all know what he does on both ends of the floor, just a total freak. But I got him at number 2. How about you, Chris?
Well, Chris and I have the same number 2. We all have Giannis for, I think, exactly the same reason. I don't know about you, Chris.
Yeah, I have the same reason there. He struggles with the outside shot, and he's off to a slow start from the line, but he's the most athletic player in the NBA. He's so gifted. He's going to be the best player in the NBA in a couple years once Kawhi starts to slow down. And that's kind of a spoiler to me and Drew's next pick, which the number 1, it's Kawhi.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard. Going back to Giannis real quick, though, I heard he's working on a skyhook like Kareem and the jump shot. If he gets that, he's going to be actually unstoppable. He's just so good. But yeah, Kawhi, number 1 pick for both of us. He's not as good defensively as he used to be, but that he's still one of the best defensive players in the game. and his offense has really come along since he entered the NBA with the Spurs, and now he's with the Clippers, and he's not going to play that much, but if you just go based on talent, he's the best player in the league, one of the best personalities in the league, and yeah, Chris.
You gotta love Kawhi, man. I don't know. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I'm glad. I liked him in the Raptors, but I'm glad he signed at the Clippers. You know, he's in the spotlight a little more. Him and Paul George are going to be great together. But he can just do it all. I don't know. His offense, it's not the most. He's not the most skilled offense player on this list. He's up there, but one thing he is he's efficient from the floor for sure. Something that Harden doesn't have, and some of the other players lower on this list that shoot a low percentage. He shoots a pretty high percentage from the floor for a wing. And he's still probably a top 10 defender in the league and all-around player. I just think he's unstoppable. He's ridiculous in the playoffs.
Did you say probably a top 10 defender in the league? He's probably the best defender in the league.
His defense has slowed down a little bit. I don't know.
He's definitely top 5.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. I was just spitballing there for a second. But, you know, he's a great player, man. I don't think he's a top 3. No, nobody's going to argue that. But let's hear what Ryan's got to say for his number 1.
Very controversial. I got Kevin Durant as my best player in the NBA.
I mean, that's not controversial. He probably would be number 1 if he was healthy.
I don't even care about the injury. Just a 7-foot guy who can shoot like that, get his shot off anywhere, anytime he wants, is just unbelievable. And if you've noticed, when he wants to, he can be an elite defender. Just
no doubt.
His size, his length. I got Kevin Durant at number 1.
He's underrated how good of a blocker he is, honestly.
Yeah, I know Stephen A. Smith would love me for that pick, but
there's no argument that he's out of the top 5 when he's healthy. I know Drew had him in his honorable mentions, but that isn't for the lack of talent, obviously. Yeah. That's just because he's hurt. He made his list a little differently than ours. No big deal there, but to conclude here on the USB cast, next week we're going to tease the NBA overreactions. You know, we're really going to dive into some of the early season talk. You know, we didn't get to it as much today. We just kind of talked about some players, but, you know, we're really going to dig deep at some of these teams that have surprised and some of these teams that have underwhelmed, I guess.
Yeah, and we're also going to touch on some other stuff, maybe do a little bit more NFL, NCAA football coverage. Of course, that big LSU-Alabama game. Should be a good week, and hopefully you guys
it's Michigan State week. Can't forget about that. We're going to preview that game.
That's not even going to be a game. Don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we'll preview it anyway. I agree, but we're gonna take a look at the lines and stuff. I'm going to make a bet in that game for sure. I'll give it one of those.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good week. To preview Michigan State, kind of like what Ryan said, it's going to be a really easy win for Michigan, I think. But of course, hopefully you follow us at our Twitter account. We're going to get Instagram up pretty soon too. Twitter is at TheUSBCast. Give us a follow, interact with us, tell us what you want us to hear, want us to talk about. Send in suggestions. We want to hear all that.
We'll take some fantasy questions for sure. Any top 10 lists you want to hear from us. Any other questions you have that you'd like to. We'll bring it up on the pod for sure, no doubt.
And, also, we are all writers for the Michigan Journal, too, and we do coverage, both Dearborn stuff and professional sports stuff. It goes on the website. Definitely check that out, too. Thanks for listening. And, Ryan, I think you're going to end us off with a little bit of an end quote here.
So this is from my main man, Mr. Kawhi Leonard. We're going to end today's show with a little, hey, hey, hey.